I've noticed that most beginners aren't really sure what makes a first project good. As a result, they are often confused and unsure, not knowing if what they are doing is moving them in the right direction or just wasting their time. You might be in this situation right now, but don't worry. There are two main requirements that your first projects should meet. If you follow them, you can be confident that you are gaining experience and that you are moving toward the intermediate level. Of course, there are many other things when it comes to building projects, but I believe that the two that I'm going to talk about in this video are the main ones for a beginner like you. So let me share them with you along with a practical step you can take right now in order to start building with confidence. Let's begin. When I was first picking up coding, I was really confused as to what I should do. Okay, I was watching some tutorials, but I also need to build a project in order to apply what I was learning. I went on and searched on YouTube how to build a project or top 10 project ideas, and I was suddenly getting bombarded from all directions. Everyone was saying that you should build this exact project or this project is a must. The result was me refraining from building projects for 5 months. However, the next year I went on and started building a minigame using Pygame. Something that I was genuinely excited about. Realizing how fun it was to build something that actually drives me, I went on and built multiple smaller projects in the next few months. And that's actually the first requirement. Building something that actually interests you. You are much more productive and efficient when you actually want to do a particular task. Let me give you an example. You probably played Minecraft when you were younger. When you were in creative mode, would you build things that you were actually enthusiastic about, or things that someone on the internet told you to? Probably the former, right? That's the same with coding. The more you actually want to build a program, the more productive you're going to be when you are building it. If you only work on projects that you don't care about, you'll start seeing coding more like a burden and not as a creative hobby. Something that will greatly diminish your motivation and thus your progress. Eventually you might even give up. Those videos that tell you that this particular project is a must completely ignore this. That's why so many people skip those projects entirely and continue watching tutorials. The second thing to consider is whether your project gives you enough opportunities to apply things you've learned, because as a beginner, your priority is to fully understand the fundamentals. I have said in previous videos that learning is a two-step process. The first part is actually getting the knowledge. This is where tutorials and guides come handy. And the second part is applying that knowledge in order to fully understand it. And this is where building comes into play. Even if your first project is only 40 lines long and with no user interface, it's still viable if it lets you apply key concepts like functions, loops, classes, basic inheritance. You get the point. On the other hand, if you just follow a tutorial for a must project without doing any of the problem solving yourself, you're going to make far less progress. This is also true for more advanced coders. You must constantly apply what you are learning. And here I'm going to be honest with you. I often struggle with this. It's much easier for me to just watch a course about a Python library than to build a project with it. But doing the latter will propel me forward 10 times more than the tutorial. But let's say you're a beginner, okay? You'll gain great value if you just implement in a small project functions, loops, classes, and all of the fundamentals. So before you embark on building a project, make sure that it gives you enough opportunities to implement the fundamentals, especially if you are a beginner. Now that you know about these two main requirements, let me give you a practical step, a process rather, that you can follow right now. The first thing that you should do is sit down, grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and write down 10 to 20 project ideas that come to your mind and that fit your experience level. One of them at least should interest you. You might have been coming up with ideas as you were watching this video in fact, so you can completely skip this part. Next, plan out the project. What features it's going to have, how the interface is going to look like, if you're going to have an interface, and create a task board about the tasks that you must do. I actually made a whole video about this planning process, so you might want to check it out. This way you're going to make sure that your program is going to have the right features in order to give you enough opportunities to apply what you recently learned. But if you're a beginner, I suggest keeping the planning minimal and focusing on actually writing code and taking action. As you get more experienced and you start working on bigger projects, you'll need to dedicate more time to planning. But for now, focus instead on actually taking action and not procrastinating. Anyway, afterwards you want to just sit down and start building using the knowledge that you already have. You'll figure out anything else that you need along the way. You might hesitate to start because most beginners like you are afraid of taking action, but you must be courageous. Courage is your ability to feel fear and act despite it. It's not being fearless. Of course, you are frequently going to get stuck, but that's just a part of programming. You should worry if you were lucky enough not to get stuck and fail in your first projects, because by failing you get experience, you learn how to deal with bad results, and generally like you level up. I know it's obvious, but most people don't actually do it. If you persist when you get stuck and you refrain from giving up, you'll eventually find a solution and finish your project. And that's pretty much it. Again, as a beginner, you want to firstly find a project idea that actually drives you, and secondly, make sure that it gives you enough opportunities to apply what you recently learned. Actually, that also applies beyond the beginner level, but you get the point. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Try this approach, and if it helps, consider returning to this video and pressing the like and the subscribe button. Remember to start building using the knowledge that you already have. Have faith in Jesus Christ and take care.